slide.
Do you know where the afters is?
Nail it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know the jingle though. You're gonna have to. I think
We're gonna make one.
Yeah, together. That's what I think we should do.
I mean, it would be silly to pay someone else
To do a jingle.
when
When you could
we can make it ourselves.
probably got loads of like 30-second loops.
I've got 100.
100. That's what most of my tunes were. 30-second loops. Perfect for jingles.
You don't even need, mate. You need like
10
12 seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it, yeah.
All right, guys, we're rolling.
Okay. So just
So,
good.
do you want me to keep on the wide, or do you want me to keep starting the wide and then jump to you on your opening? You're not going to see it.
Yeah, start on the wide is
Yeah,
fine.
we're
Yeah,
not
there's
gonna see
no
it.
no stress. Yeah,
Alright.
so I'll read it. Okay. Tune in to the Afters podcast, hosted by me, Sean, and Jackie. We're former professional touring DJs who've become wellness advocates, exploring life beyond the club scene to focus on health and well-being. Each week, we bring you interviews with a wide range of guests to discuss everything from mental parties to mental health. We share our journey and the challenges we face throughout our travels, as well as offering practical tips to inspire you to prioritize your health.
Smashed it.
There we go.
First one down. How does that feel?
It feels all right, yeah. Felt good. Hope everyone else enjoyed it.
We're done.
Yeah, that's it. Crack on, see you in a bit. Okay, here we are, the Afters podcast.
We did make a few notes
Yeah.
to make sure we stay on track. So I will be looking at my phone every now and again. So don't worry, I do know what we're doing.
I do know my own story. I'm not making this up.
So yeah, the Afters podcast. I feel. I mean, where do we start? Because we need to come across, as I said before, we need to come across in this podcast as if nobody knows us.
Absolutely.
We are. I mean, I'll kick off. So my name is Jackie. I am a 34-year-old man who is now living in Hampshire from the northeast originally, and I was a professional DJ, which is where we met many moons ago, which
Many
we will
moons
come
ago, yeah.
we'll come to at some point. And I have transitioned from the music industry to something completely different, which is in finance. I started a fintech startup about 2 years ago now. So I've gone from a pretty crazy lifestyle in the music industry to now working from home, my own boss still, but doing something completely different. And the journey from a very busy, hectic DJ to an international DJ to essentially going into a pretty, I would say, quiet but equally exciting life, but much more focused on health and wellness, which is again how we cross paths.
Yeah.
Only November last year.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, previously a DJ for 6 years professionally. COVID came, threw me out my routine, made me realize that I was living my life all the wrong ways. Not looking after myself, not looking after my body, mentally, physically. And now I have took a completely different journey to start looking after myself, exercising, eating right, and I'm in a completely different place.
Yeah, I thought what would be good is you go back to the start of your journey, because I would actually quite like to hear that as well. Like how did you become Jackie the DJ?
Oh, the very start. So let me go back to my journey into music. So I always liked music when I was younger. I played drums. I tried guitar. I was rubbish at that. And long story short, left school, did music GCSE, but didn't go into A levels or anything.
What grade did you get?
I got a B, I think. In fact, my teacher was actually really into, who's also my uncle, by the way. He was a music producer, so he used to make electronic music.
Ah, okay.
So I went from GCSE music, left school, went to work for Barclays Bank. It was great. Everyone around me was really proud of me. My family were like, "You got a really good job, corporate. This is perfect, right?" but I wasn't happy, man. I was working like in an office. I went from working in the branch to working in the office. And then when I was 21, I said, I can't do this. I've got to go and do music. But I didn't have an A-level in music. You need an A-level in order to get into a university course. Oh, I need some tissues in here. We're going to need tissues. Have we got any tissues?
I don't think so, mate. No.
I'll tell you what, for everyone who's starting a podcast, make sure you've got tissues handy.
Yeah.
We need one of them little kill buttons so you can like cough or.
Yeah.
So I went into a higher education course for a year at Newcastle College just so I could get onto the university degree, which I did. I had like 4 jobs. I was DJing in a gay club called Powerhouse in Newcastle. I was on the weekends, I was a paintball marshal at a paintball place. I used to work at Tesco Bank selling car insurance on the phones. And this is all at the same time, right? Just to get me through this university course. So I did that for 4 years, passed, got a first class honours degree. That's right, isn't it? First honours. So it's the top one.
Oh, nice.
Although it didn't really do anything. I mean, I couldn't even get a job making teas and coffees in a studio. It was crazy. In that time, I'd kind of been working on my own parties, running parties in Newcastle as a promoter, DJing, kind of trying to get gigs here and there. And then I met a girl in Manchester.
Here we go.
The last year of uni, I actually did my last year in Leeds, who I'm now married to, so it did work out.
Yep.
I met a girl and she essentially said, unless you move to London, this isn't going to work. So I moved to London. I got a job at the Apple Store in Regent Street. Big up Regent Street Apple Store, which was great. I met loads of people, but the wages were shit. Like, you're working on minimum wage, 40, 50 hours a week. But it got me in London and I started mingling with the right people. And then I left Apple after about 6 months, got a job for a friend who was from Sunderland who I used to hang around with. I used to rave with actually in Newcastle years ago. And he got me a job working for his company who used to sell business insurance on the phones. And at that point, my tracks were starting to get traction. And
what was your first release?
My first release was actually a remix I did for Lee Pennington. Do you know the Riff Raff guys?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So I did a remix for one of Lee Pennington's label.
Did you get paid for it?
The fuck? I mean, to be honest, at the start, you're not really bothered about getting paid for anything, are you? You're just happy to be on a release, right?
Yeah, too right.
Even some of my I will come on to this, but even some of my big releases, I might have got like a few hundred quid.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that got like over 1 million players on Spotify, or whatever, you don't get any money for music. But anyway, it was 2014. I got a release on Viva, and this is at the time where Viva Warriors, and obviously not everyone's going to know what that is. Viva Warriors is a UK-based underground house music label.
This is house the Sankey's area.
This is the Sankey's area. Sankey's nightclub in Manchester when it was still with us. R.I.P. Viva Warriors was one of the biggest it was kind of a workers' party, but it was one of the biggest parties at Sankey's in Ibiza. And I got a signing just at the right time. It really was a right place at the right time situation. Signed to Viva Warriors 2015. It was like a film. I went into work the next day. I was like, fucking, here's me notice. I've had enough. It was my friend as well. It was my friend Mark. And he was like, are you being serious? Like, we're 3 days off the end of the month. Are you going to like just stop work? I was like, okay, I'll work in a movie, they would have dramatized it and I would have just walked in and threw me pens and that and gone, I'm getting out of here, but I didn't. I worked till the Friday. But I quit. I had no idea what I was going to be, how big I was going to get. But the amount of money I had coming in was about 800 quid a month on gigs. I was making 200 quid a gig. And my lass was like, I'll support you. And I don't think she really knew what she was getting into because I had no idea how far this was going to go. But I just knew, I was like, if I'm going to do this, the traction I've got off this release, I've got to strike while the iron's hot. So I did. I quit work and I just made tunes the whole time. Got that release signed. That came out in the October. I played in September. Viva Warriors, one of the last gigs in the season in Ibiza.
Were you on an agency at this time?
So, no. I was I was doing my own bookings, and actually, this is funny for anyone who booked me in 2015, 16. I was pretending to be someone else. So my mate Kieran, big up to Sharples, he was kind of working with me at the time, who I used to play for in Manchester, a party called Mute. You ever hear of Mute?
Yeah, I remember Mute.
Sanders and Sharples. So I just picked the name out of a hat. I was like, well, I'm just going to pretend to be, I think it was like JackyBookings@gmail.com or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And I put it on my Instagram or I think it was Facebook was pretty big at the time. Yeah. And I just pretended to be a guy called Kieran, who was my agent, and just took 20% of every single gig, and I just took it myself. I was like, if someone else is going to be doing that, going to be expected to. Yeah. So I played Viva Warriors that year in Ibiza, and then from there, like kind of the rest was history. I went right through from playing like really small gigs here and there, started playing places like Norwich and getting booked for like Birmingham and like a bit further afield in the UK. Fast forward through, like started getting gigs over the next five or 6 years, playing for massive brands like Elro, getting signed in 2017 to Defected, a really big house music label in the UK, based in London. They give me my first residency in Ibiza, like in 2017. I think I had like 13 shows in Ibiza.
Wow. Back
and forth, had Jackie and Friends, my own party in room 2 with Defected. That was really cool. Also playing the main room, opened 2017 at Eden with MK, Sam Divine, like crazy gigs. And that's kind of the journey from start to finish until, well, not the finish. The finish was when COVID came, and it really put things into perspective and made me realize that the way I've been living wasn't that I wasn't enjoying myself when I was playing. It was everything else that went with it. It was the late nights, the partying, the jet lag, the not seeing friends and family, missing family occasions, but mainly, and one of the reasons, well, the only reason we are really sat here today talking about this is the health aspect. Yeah, and we're going to come back to this many times. But when you're forced into a corner, like what COVID kind of pushed us to. What pushed us both to kind of be in that like sort of desperate corner, it made me realize how important health really is. And it's really weird that deep down I kind of knew that for years. I knew when I was doing it, when I was going to the after parties and not leaving till like 2 days later and all that stuff, I knew it wasn't doing the right thing. But I feel like I was just doing it because I don't know about you, but I created this kind of persona, this Jacky persona. I was the party guy. I was the guy that never said no to an afters. I was the guy that always was there last, putting his USB in. And one more tune. You know, and it was all fake. But I didn't realize until things stopped. I had March 2020, I had a Australia and New Zealand and Bali tour. I had a South America tour going back to Ecuador to play a Lost Beach club and all these amazing shows. And then in 48 hours, everything stopped and everything was cancelled. And I was sat there with my dick in my hand, like, what fucking now? I had like money on a credit card. I was living with, no offense, Helen, but I was living with my mother-in-law. We moved back to Eleanor's mum's. So we were married at this point. Yeah. I moved back to Eleanor's mum so we could save money for a house. And then 3 months later.
Was that before COVID then? You'd already planned that?
Yeah, so we left in November 19. We were in Manchester, which was a bad decision. Yeah. We'll talk about that another time. But I moved to Manchester thinking we'll save money for a house because we can't save money in London. We're living in Battersea, literally around the corner from here. And we're paying so much for rent. And we said, if we're going to save for a house, we need to move up north. Also, it's kind of near my friends, which at the time I thought were my friends, but kind of you find out who your really mates are when you kind of change, your life changes. COVID changed all that. But so Manchester, then moved back to Helen's, and then it was 3 months in. I had those tours coming, those 2 or 3 big international tours. I was putting all that money away. My mother-in-law said, don't worry about any rent, like just, I want you to get your house. All that money that was going to be made was going to pay off my debt, was going to buy us a house, we're going to be set. And then I had nothing. I had $8,000 on a Barclay card, which I couldn't pay off. I had no other way of making income. I did actually in the end. I kind of switched it around in the short term. I was teaching people to make music online on Zoom.
Ah, okay.
So I was teaching Ableton, which was good, but very draining when you're trying to have one-on-one with someone 5 hours a day. Give them everything. It's a lot. It's really, really intense, and it got a bit much. But again, it's kind of forced into a corner. What do you do? But so COVID came. I realized that I was being super unhealthy, not eating the right foods, putting the wrong things in my body constantly, drinking and all the other stuff, and then I started going to the gym. I think it was kind of that culture in lockdown where people were thinking, I've got not fuck all else to do. Let's do some HIIT classes. Like people like Courtney Black and all those things. Eleanor was, I think it's Courtney Black. She's like a Instagram PT. She's smashed it. She's like living in Dubai, but she was like one of the first people that I saw online on Instagram who kind of took to the Instagram PT world and was just doing like free classes, live streams on a Saturday and live streams on a Tuesday. We're just doing like HIIT classes.
And that's what you started doing, did you?
And I started doing that with Eleanor in the living room.
Had you done any training prior to?
Not really, no. I mean, when I said I'd been to the gym like, 2-3 times a month, and then thinking that was sweet.
Yeah, on the bike.
Yeah, Or like when I do like a shop run at an afters, that was probably the most exercise I ever got.
Bare steps.
Yeah. So kind of started training in lockdown, and then that was it really. But I don't think I would have changed my ways unless I was forced into that corner, unless COVID came. And then we moved out of Eleanor's mum's in like November of 2021. No, November 2020. It was the same year. We started renting a little place down the road, and then I joined a gym, got a PT, because I was going to the gym, right? We joined a David Lloyd. We love it there. Really nice gym, lovely spa. But I was going to the gym and not having any idea what I was doing, no technique or anything. So I got a PT for like 3 months, and it was great. And then I just cracked on with that, really just stayed disciplined with my food and stuff. Everything was like really, really strict. Hadn't stopped drinking though at this point. So for like 18 months after starting to train, even 2 years, I was still drinking. And then so fast forward, I was in a really good shape. I did a bulk, I did a cut. I showed you the pictures. I made real big progress. Yeah. But last November, so this is fast forward, last November.
But what about just before that? What about work? Where were you doing work situation?
Oh, I was gonna come on to that. But, so during that time, me and 2 friends, we kind of dipped in and out the trading community for a while, trading Forex and stuff like that. And we started sort of circling these trading communities online with Discord and all these online sort of communication streams, and we started mingling with these trading communities, and we started to come up with an idea where we could essentially hire traders to work for us who knew what they were doing. Because I mean, I'd say I'm a trader, but I'm not actually trading for our fund. I'll come on to what we do, but we essentially, me and 2 friends, we launched 2 years ago last month actually, so we're just over 2 years old now. We launched a managed investment fund. So we so for example, if you're actually now a client of ours,
I am now. Yeah.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
So clients like yourself would send us their money. We would then trade that money for them. We take a split. So whatever we make in that month, we take a 20% profit management fee, and you take the other 80%. Yeah. And we've been doing that for 25 months now. This is the 25th month actually, and it's going really well. Yeah. We started with friends and family, and now we manage over 400 clients, and that includes we manage millions and millions of dollars, clients' money. So
this is definitely a podcast in itself, this, isn't it? Because I want to go into great detail about how that all works. But let's go back to training. So
So we will come on to that, and I want to talk about the business, and the business in a lot more detail. But from a fitness point of view, the training continued on through the next 2 years, so from 2020 to 2022, and then in November 2022, I hit you up. Was it last November or October?
I think it was. I was in Japan. I think
you were away. It might have been October actually. I think we
spoke.
We spoke,
and then I was away.
And you were away, but essentially, I'd been seeing what you've been doing because your story which we're going to come on to in a minute, because I don't realise I've been talking for ages now.
That's great, man. I want to hear this myself.
Because we've talked about this briefly, but not actually in much detail. We said we wanted to keep this for the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I'd been keeping an eye on you. I'd seen your journey from doing essentially what I did, but in a kind of a different way.
Yeah.
And you kind of gone all in on the PT exercise stuff, which was amazing to see. But I started seeing you post about these 12-week transformations from some of your clients, and I was like, this is me. This is exactly what I need. Because I feel like everyone's different, but I got as far as I could on my own.
I
needed a change.
Yeah.
I think I remember texting you, and I said, I've just drove to the gym. I was driving to the gym. I got halfway, and there's like a couple of roundabouts. And I got to the second roundabout, and I just turned around the roundabout, and I just gone home. And as soon as I got home, I jumped on the computer, and I was like, Sean, I need to do something about this. Completely lost interest. I'm stagnating. And then you said, right, okay, so I think you should do this, X, Y, and Z. One of those big ones is running, which I hadn't done any of.
Yeah.
And I said, I fucking hate running. I'm not going to run. I don't know what you don't care. In my head, I was like, I don't care what he says. I'm not going to run. Like, he has to give me something else to do because I'm not going to run. And then I said, so I think I went away and thought about it. I think I wasn't sure. Because you said to me, oh, well, if you've got a bad back, maybe we could do this and this and this. I was like, no, let's wait. So a few weeks came back to you, and we did it. And I started running, and I went from stagnating with my body shape. I was trying to get the abs. I was trying to get down to that body percentage, that body fat percentage, and I wasn't getting there. And then started running. Did your 12-week course. It got to like Jan, and then I carried that running training on.
Nice.
And then by April, I think I sent you a picture of my abs, and I was like,
if we get in the edit, we need to get the before and after, like ching.
100%. But yeah, so that's kind of my journey in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That was a really quick
It was, yeah.
overview.
There's a lot. We're going to go into a lot more. Yeah.
There's so much to unpack in that. But the moral of the story really is, you don't really know where you are, especially in your fitness, until you are thrown out of your comfort zone. COVID and lockdown was a massive shock to my system.
Yeah. And
it really put things into perspective. But coming full circle, it's so funny because we're going to talk about your journey now. But it's weird how we met, and I'll talk about this briefly. We met at a DJ Mag party. Like a DJ, you were playing a DJ.
Was it? Where was it? Was it?
Because we met in London when DJ Mag was at the old office.
Oh, yeah.
Blackhall invited me down. I used to live with Blackhall.
Yeah, I remember.
Chris Blackhall, DJ Mag. And he invited me down. That's where we met. And I'm sure you guys were like...
We were there all the time.
And you were playing... You were. And
every Friday.
Every Friday. And you were playing Egg that night.
Yeah.
Because you played Egg all the time.
Yeah.
And it's funny how we've come full circle. Now we're sat here talking about something we never thought we would be
doing. Mate. If we'd said that on that party then, we'd be talking about this in years to come.
100%.
Like, no chance.
But yeah, so that's kind of my story, and we're going to go into that in more detail.
100%.
Yeah, but tell me about you. So tell me where.
So
go for it.
It's a little. How far do you go back? Do you really?
That's what I said. So I started my journey just there from when I started getting into electronic music. So it's completely up to you.
So I would go a little bit. Before that, when I was younger, I was a PT. When I was younger, I qualified when I was 18, actually, and then I joined the military. I was in the military 4 years. I did a tour of Afghanistan. Come out, went back into fitness.
I didn't know you were in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I went to Afghanistan 2010. 6 months tour. I did. Yeah.
That's mad.
It was. I mean, looking back now, it was a great experience, but. This is what I always say about the military, actually, is that if I could live again, I'd do it again, because it did change me in so many ways that I really wasn't aware of at the time. It's just something that I always wanted to do when I was a kid. My dad was in the military.
Right.
So I wanted to do it. I actually applied when I was 18, but I had previous convictions from when I was younger that weren't spent. So I had to wait a year, and then I thought, well, I'll do my PT qualification. And then I did that. Bit of dry mouth.
Don't worry, mate. It's all right. You're just talking to me. Don't worry. Don't look the cameras.
And then Yeah, and then I did my PT qualification, and then I waited till I was 20, and then I went back in. I was in the RAF regiment. I did, 4 years, and then come out, went back into personal training, and I fucking loved it at the time. Like that year, I moved to Southend. So my brother was living there. Me and him were super close, and my first job was at Virgin Active as a PT.
Oh, so you have got some experience in this. I didn't know that.
That's it. And that, obviously we'll get into that, but that's sort of like where I am now has sort of been, it's been like quite natural to fall into that. So that was it. And then we started partying quite a bit, like outside of, at the weekend, especially because I'd been in the military for 4 years, like, going out, there was like a group of lads, there's a lot of testosterone. And then we started going to an after party, and my mate was playing like electronic music because I'm a big hip hop fan at heart. Like that's where that's where I got my Wu-Tang tattoo here and everything. Yeah. So
how old were you when you started like going clubbing?
About 23, 24.
Okay.
Yeah. So we started going to these after parties, and then he had like some CDJs. We started mixing. Me and Liam did, and then we got into. Marco Corolla was like the first one. It was Carl Cox and Marco Corolla. I actually went to Global Gathering. It was the first festival I went to, and I went to see Carl Cox. But I got so wasted the first night. The second night, I could barely get in the tent, and I had to like pull myself out. And I literally went, saw Carl Cox playing, and then fucked off back in my tent. So yeah, and then and then we started mixing. And he was like, this is actually quite fun. And we started going, because Liam used to go to like the drum and bass raves at Fabric. So he'd go from Southend to Fabric. Like even when I was in the military, he was quite a big raver then. And and then we went to Marco Corolla at Fabric for the first time, and it just blew my. It was when he was, when he did like the Essential mix, like era of Corolla. It just blew my mind. And then we bought some like little shitty. I think we not CDJs first. We got like a controller just for the living room for after parties and that. And then we got some CDJs. I can't remember what they were, like the 700s, just like the ones with the tiny little wheels.
Oh, the CDJ 400s.
It could have been, yeah.
I had the 400.
Yeah.
I just realised I didn't talk anything about DJing at all.
No, I know. That was a big part.
We'll come back to it.
That was the part I wanted to hear, some of the stories. But
the CDJ 400s are the one with the first ones with a USB in.
Yeah, that was
the them ones. Yeah, the 400s.
But then I can't remember because I think I was playing CDs back in the day.
Yeah, it was CDs and you could put a USB as well.
When you have an after party, I don't know if you ever did this, and you had all your CDs and ordered. And then at the after party, you'd wake up and that's it.
Well,
fucked.
Did you not? We used to do doubles, mate. You have to do doubles.
No,
doubles. So if because if you fucking wrecked at a party and no one's putting them back in the sleeves.
No, never.
Well, if you've got doubles, you could have all of them out and you've still got a backup there.
I missed the trick there. Because every single Monday, I was just like,
what do I do with this? It's an absolute mess. Spaghetti junction.
Anyway, and then we. I recorded a mix, basically. We started recording a mix that we really wanted to start playing out. And I used to just spam everyone, with this mix. And then we see this guy on Facebook, Lewis, and there was like a DJ competition coming up. So me and Liam, it was in London, we were like, we've got to do it. So it was like a Wednesday night. And I'm sure it was here. I'm not sure. It was somewhere in Vauxhall anyway. And anyway, we went to it. A few of our friends come, and our mixing was actually okay because I don't know if you ever heard of like the 0.8 rule. Yeah.
If anyone asks me to teach them,
that's
the first thing I teach them.
Right.
0.8 rule.
And I found that out as well because this guy that I used to know, he's seen that we'd started mixing that, and he got really jealous, and he was because he'd gone to like DJ school, and then he told me about this 0.8 rule as if to say, I know more than you, and he told me about it, and I was like, fucking hell, nice. So now I can actually mix.
So you didn't actually know that?
No, I didn't have a clue. Anyway, so we went, and
that's meant.
Yeah,
and it's like one of the first things.
I didn't even know it. Yeah, but he told me that as if to say, well, you don't even know about the 0.8 rule. I was like, no, I don't, but now I do. Thank you very much. Started my career really. Anyway, we went to this DJ gig. This competition, and they said, "Oh, you've got it," and it's to play the Loft at Egg, but it was selling tickets, So you got to bring your friends. And the first one, I think we sold 50 tickets on the first one. And we were playing, again, that sort of Marco Carolla style, like quite minimal, at the time. And there wasn't a lot of up-and-coming artists, I'd say, playing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it went really well. And they asked us to come back for New Year's. And then we did the same. We sold 50 tickets. But then 2 people didn't turn up after us. So we got to play like a 3-hour set. And Hans, like one of the promoters at Egg, he come to see us play, and that was it. Then we had like an in at Egg, and me and Liam were going to Egg every single week. We were there Friday, Saturday. This before we were even residents. And Liam, because he used to talk to everyone, started getting quite pally with Hans there.
Yeah.
And then and then we eventually we started running rooms, selling tickets, and then we got a residency there on like Friday, then a Saturday. Like DJ Mag, we were in with Adam Saville, like when I missed a big part then. And it come back to something that you said as well, actually, is that Hans said to us, because we were living in Southend, and I was still, at the time, I was still a PT, and he said, look, if you want this to happen, you've got to make the move to London. So we quit a job, and Liam went to look at, because we had a 2-bed apartment in Southend. He's like, oh, look, Liam went to go and look at some places, and he's like, I found this place. Anyway, I'll have to go into this story a bit more detail another time. But basically, we were moving to London, so we had one big final party. Completely forgot we were moving. Everyone's still up partying. My mate Todd, his dad, come with a van, and he's like, I'm outside, and we were like, I was still off my head. I was like, what the fuck? So it's a pile, like 2-bed flat into this one van off my chop, sat in the front of the van with my mate's dad. Got there, only to realise that we've only got a room, so we moved to Brick Lane, but the place Liam's got is like this small box room with 2 beds, 2 single beds.
And you got a whole flat's worth of stuff.
Oh my God.
So what
mate,
did you do?
Piled it high. We had to dash loads of stuff, mate. It was just ridiculous. I was like, Liam,
It's
what
not
the
ideal.
fuck? No, it's not.
It's not what you want straight after.
I was 20. How old was I? 25, and I'm sharing a room with my brother again.
God.
Anyway, so we got the residency at Egg, and then at the time I was drinking a lot. The longer my residency went on, 4 years, the less, I was doing no like exercise. I was going on the bike for 30 minutes at the gym and saying I've done a good workout, and then we got a lucky break. We were just known for Egg, really. I think that's like for me and Liam, like production. I think we found really difficult, and we were partying a lot, and everyone knew us for being the residents at Egg. And then we got a lucky break with someone in Berlin, which I want to save that story for another time, because it's a juicy one. Anyways, and then it was pretty much the same. If you want to make this happen, you got to move to Berlin. We got on the Watergate residency, an agency, and then spent 4 years in Berlin. But my health was getting worse. I got a bad drug addiction, and I was doing nothing and argue. It was getting really bad. But then COVID sort of gave me this opportunity to see, like, what am I actually doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, the career was going okay, but with how my health was and my drug use, it was going to end badly.
Do you think, knowing, because you were a PT previously, right? Do you think that knowledge from when you did that and kind of were in that world, do you think that maybe was a catalyst in your mind? Because I didn't have that previous experience, but you knew that, the benefits, right? Looking after your body, looking after yourself, and the benefits for your mental health and everything. Yeah. Do you think that maybe niggled at you, or was it kind of?
It's a good question. It was. I don't think it did at all, because it was only because of COVID that basically then I had to get a job, and I was living in Berlin. The only non-German speaking jobs was at Amazon, doing a night shift, which for me, actually, that was a blessing in disguise. That, because it stopped me from partying, because I was working the nights. Not completely, the German health system. Like, basically, if you go to the doctors in Germany, they just say, how many days off do you want? Like, that's how easy it is. So
you just dropped the Germany in it there.
I know.
It's a huge podcast.
Okay, no.
Millions of listeners.
Yeah.
Germany's fucking out.
Yeah. Anyway, so I got a job at Amazon doing a night shift, and then I started training again. I remember my first run around Temple Half with, my ex. She's like, look, come running. I was like, okay. Ego, massive. I thought, I'm going to fucking nail this. And I don't know if anyone watches Peep Show, but there's a part in Peep Show where he runs and he's like, oh, this is definitely a bit of me. And obviously, because I'm ex-military and I was quite a good runner back in the day, I thought, I'm just going to go straight back into it. About 100 meters down the way, I was fucked. I was like, this is horrible. But I stuck at it, and then I started training again. And, obviously, the Amazon job, lifting the bar, it was quite active. So I started, then I was like, actually, you know what? I might get back into this. I started weighing my food again. I got my fitness pal up, and it was like, the last time I went on there, I was like 76 kilos. And at the time, then I was like, I think I was like 86 or 87. When I first, and I was like, fucking, I've not been on it for years. Anyway, I started losing weight, started looking good again and feeling good. My fitness is getting better. My running was getting better. And Liam, he just didn't want to DJ anymore anyway. And I started thinking, actually, yeah, me neither. But in the back of my head, there's still something, I still hadn't quite done enough, in the career. And then I was like, look, we're going to move back to England. So when we were able to, it was July what year is it? 2021. It's 2 years ago, just over. And then we went on to a Constant Talent agency with David Oyston, and we had big plan. We had an Australia tour plan, New Zealand tour plan. I think we had 8 gigs in England plan, because everything had sort of opened up again. We moved back, and I remember we got back, and this was it. Oh, I think it was the first week in August. Me and Liam had a big argument in Bournemouth because he didn't want to do it anymore. Again, something that we'll definitely talk about on the podcast, but me and Liam were so close as brothers. The more my drug use and alcohol happened, it pulled us further apart. And because obviously with COVID we weren't able to party and stuff, I'd started looking after myself again, and he did as well. He started running. And just, becoming more healthy. Life was just much better. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so we had this big argument. Liam was like, look, I'm not going to do it. And I was like, look, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do all the gigs sober. Yeah. that was my big...
Oh, yeah, I've heard this.
Yeah.
I know this bit.
Yeah, so I'm going to do all the gigs sober. And first gig, Nottingham. Here we go. Sober. Liam didn't come. I was on my own. And went up. Oh, mate, I was like, honestly, the whole night, not drinking, get to play, I'll have one drink. Yeah. Yeah.
As you do.
I'll have one drink. Well, it wasn't even, the gig wasn't packed, you know what I mean? It was pretty average Willer's Brothers gig at this point. Gig, anyway, I'll have one, I'll have another one. Packet comes out. Next thing, I wake up in hospital, yeah? Right? Apparently the police brought me in. I was, it was just embarrassing. I've got a gash on my head here.
So what happened? Did you fall or what?
I actually don't know that part. That's the scary thing, is I actually don't know if I had got in a fight or if I'd fallen over or
and
what.
No one who you were with?
No, because this is the thing. Apparently I went to not even an after party. I went to an Oceana. Yeah, after.
So you went clubbing after you clubbed?
But
after
not,
your gig.
But not even to a cool. It was and I checked my credit card stuff. It was champagne, Sean. I spent more than I had actually got paid for the gig. Coming off. Anyway, I was in bits, but I was crying. I was ringing my dad. I was like, oh, that's it. And the next day I got home. And I rang everyone in the industry who was sort of a part with us at the time. Just said that was it, and to no surprise they weren't happy, and they're still not to this day. I mean, they probably don't give a shit anymore. But I've tried to reach out once or twice to no success. But anyway, so I then had to get a job, and the first job I got back was a PE teacher. Which I'm not qualified in, but the guy that I spoke to, I told him my situation. He was ex-military, so ex-military, you have this sort of bond, it's ex-military. Anyway, friends. Yeah, friends. Anyway, so he gave me the job, and I fucking loved it at the start. It was great, it was something I'd never done before. I was really good at it, and
what age group? Was it secondary school?
Primary school.
Primary school. All right.
Honestly, one first thing, I thought I was badly behaved when I was at school. nothing on these kids.
Really?
Like, yeah, that was the first thing I did after a week. I rang my mum. I was like, I expect an apology because I was well behaved compared to these kids. Honestly,
Really?
the language on some of them, it's because I thought as well. The funny thing was, because I thought DJ, military. I thought I'm going to be Mr. Cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everyone's going to be like, oh, there goes Mr. Willers.
Yeah.
Mr. Cool, the
Yeah.
PE teacher. They weren't. They were like, fuck off, you
Yeah.
wanker. So,
Curb your ego, mate.
yeah, bro.
Curb your ego, Mr. Willers.
Yeah,
You're nobody to us.
Ain't it? That's it, man. I'm mostly doing know what a DJ was. So I forget that one. It was anyway. It was a shot, but it was good. It was good. But then I started documenting my journey, and like you know, similar to yourself, like me and Lee were known, you know, for partying. Like that's what we were known, especially in Berlin. Like everyone knew when you were booking us, we were getting fucked up.
Yeah,
like that was part and parcel of the Willers brothers, and a lot of people started seeing my journey, my transformation, and thinking, well, fucking hell, if he can do it, surely it's possible. And a couple of DJs started reaching out to me that I really respected in the industry, like Randall M. He was one of the first ones, and Noah as well. And I just like started helping them, and then you know people started paying me a little bit, and then I started because I didn't know. I come from the one-on-one PT. I didn't really know about online coaching.
Yeah.
Because during COVID, like that wasn't something that I've even thought about. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
Is that it was even a possibility? Because I was just trying to, you know, focus on my own journey and sort myself out anyway. And it just sort of blossomed, and it's, you know, it's created this business now that I have that sort of led us to where we are exactly right now.
Well, it's the business that you have now, which
Yeah.
got us talking again.
Exactly, yeah.
Brought us full circle, right?
Yeah. So, so that's sort of the journey in a nutshell. I think we're definitely going to go into these a lot more in depth. I think we'll break them down as the podcast goes on, but
those stories. I mean, as you were telling yours, I realised I'd missed like 96% of my story.
More than that.
But we're literally gonna have to break this down into like we could.
Go on,
hours.
Do you want to go back into it? I think you should. I think the listeners might want to hear.
Well, are you done, by the way, before
I'm
start
done for
battling
that.
off?
Yeah,
No,
I'm
but-
done
no,
for
but that's-
that.
it's
I'm
re-
done for that part, yeah.
It's really interesting because I didn't actually know about the military stuff. I don't think we've discussed that.
No.
Because it's just so people know, we've not really been super close.
No, not at
over
all.
the years.
No,
it's
no,
only
no.
really the back end of last year when we reconnected.
Yeah.
And
Since I moved to London now.
since you moved to London, when did you move? A few months ago.
A few months ago now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's now coming into my third month.
But it's actually, for me, it's been really nice to connect with someone who I know understands what I've been through.
Yeah.
Because you literally done. Obviously, I know we do different things. I'm working in a fintech startup. You're going down this online coaching thing, but essentially, we've come from the same background in terms of we're in the music industry, essentially lost in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Forced into a corner, come out the other end, and it was kind of either a sink or swim situation. Obviously, you have that PT experience, and that's now, as you've just said before, it's now coming in handy. Like you've got these DJs reaching out to you, and now not just DJs, you're helping all sorts of people.
Yeah.
And that was where we got the idea for this podcast, right?
Yeah.
So what you do is essentially help people get out of ruts, whether that's mainly with their fitness, but that comes hand in hand with mental health as well, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah.
And we just to come full circle on why we're doing this is we really think that our journeys and our experience can benefit other people.
Yeah.
Our stories, which we're going to go into in a lot of depth, and also get guests on, friends of ours, people we'll probably reach out to who aren't friends but who have incredibly interesting stories.
Yeah.
Those stories can be beneficial, and also people want to be able to relate to these things. You know, I know personally so many people. I will come back onto a few extra little stories about my journey, but just quickly, I know people in the industry now who are at the top of their game, playing for huge brands, touring the world, maybe playing 3-4 shows a week, making very good money, and I know they're unhappy. I also know some people who are on the up-and-coming roster, if you like, who are doing it completely differently now. You've got like people online who are pushing health and wellness, and they're coming up and they're not drinking and they're not doing the drugs, and and looking at it like a business.
Yeah,
I never looked at it like a business. Did you?
Did I? Fuck.
I didn't look at it like a business once. I looked at it like I was getting paid to fucking party. And we were. And we took full advantage of it.
Yeah, too right.
Another thing we need to just quickly touch on is we both, and Liam as well, respectively, we quit at the top of our games. We all three of us left this. I mean, obviously, I think Liam was probably, as your story went, he's probably ready to leave a little bit before. Not too much, but a little bit. But when all this happened, I was kind of still on the rise, as you guys were. You'd gone to Berlin. You were obviously in a different genre. You were heavily into techno. I was more house, but we were both kind of at this pinnacle move where we're going to go from like this level tier DJ making X amount to like it was going to just go the other one way, right?
Yeah.
And that's important to note because it's not about the money.
No.
It's not about the money or the fame, if you call it. We weren't really famous. We were kind of known in the underground. In a circle. People knew who we were.
Yeah.
If you listen to that music, but none of that fucking matters.
No.
None of that matters. And it didn't. Towards the end, even 2018 and 19, I knew that I was done. But I just didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But no, with regards to my story, I think I'm going to leave it there because I can always come back to this another time. We're going to use another episode to go into
100%.
Yeah.
100%. People want to hear the parties, I think. That's what
we've got plenty of them. So let's have a look at this list that we made. Why wellness matters. Should we move on to that?
Yeah, let's go.
I'll let you start with this because you're the PT. I might be able to learn a few things here anyway.
Why wellness matters? I mean, this... I think you made a good point there, actually, just towards the end of what you were saying about, we sort of ended at the top of our careers.
Yeah, definitely.
But, where would have that went if we was on the same trajectory in terms of, like, our health, mentally and physically? I
think we both know where that would have led to.
It wouldn't have ended well at all.
No.
So why wellness matters? I think one thing that I've noticed since I started taking started putting my mental and physical health back in the spotlight is that a lot of my issues that I was having prior to that have sort of disappeared.
Which
so
specifically?
Let's talk about just personal.
Okay.
Dramas.
Yeah.
So they seem to have disappeared quite a lot.
With friends or with
friends, family, relationships, just work colleagues, all that. I think a lot of the, issues that I had when I was in the music industry were related to the fact that I wasn't really looking after myself mentally or physically. And a lot of the issues that I used to get physically as well, not a lot of them, all of them have gone as well since I've started taking care of myself. Now, that sort of seems obvious, but I think so many people have a lot of issues mentally and physically and aren't looking after themselves, but aren't, putting the sort of link there together, if that makes sense. And I think when you put your health first, everything else seems to fall into place.
There's a very obvious knock-on effect, domino effect, and it sounds obvious when you talk about it like that, but people don't like. Let me put it into like a specific example. I weirdly had this rash on my back for years. I'm talking like all over my back, up my neck, down my arms, and I went to the doctors and I was always told that it's ringworm, right? It comes and goes, and when I used to DJ, obviously I'm smashing tequila. I'm sweating, and it obviously come out my skin, and I was just like, it's because of the heat. It's the heat. I'm DJing in Ibiza or Dubai or wherever it was. I'm always sweating, and it's the kind of this fungus infection. And then I stopped drinking this year. I had one drink this year at a wedding, but I stopped drinking this year, and weirdly, the fucking rash disappeared.
Did it?
Right, completely. I've had this since I was 18,
and
it's minging. It was like all up my back, all red blotches, and it was awful. And no matter what I did, no matter what cream I had or diet I tried, nothing worked. And then I stopped putting shit in my body, and then there's a knock-on effect. little things like that, like how we look after ourselves has and then that made me feel better about myself.
Because, it was more confident.
I used to hate taking my top off at the gym because I was getting showered and I had all this rash all over myself.
And now you can't leave it on.
And now I just every single Instagram post I'm just absolutely shredded out my mind.
It's funny because I had a similar. I used to get really bad acid. This is just going to turn into a part of like all the health issues we had when we were DJs. But I used to get really bad acid reflux to the part that Liam used to constantly take the piss out of me. My brother, for those who don't know, he will be on an episode, no doubt.
Definitely.
He used to call me like like a bird. You know the birds who like feed the kids, because that's how bad the acid reflux was. And I was the same. As soon as I stopped partying and getting on it and drinking all the time, it just fucking disappeared.
I had the same heartburn, horrendous. But
and I think on that's like why wellness matters, especially when we're talking about the music industry. Because for me, I think if I had started off my music career and just actually started to be a bit more concerned about my health from the start, like if I just carried on the sort of training that I was doing and thinking, okay, maybe getting fucked up 3-4 times a week isn't doing me any favors and that is leading to my problems, then I probably would have been able to sustain my career a little longer, or even been more successful with it, or just not had a lot of the dramas that had sort of come that I used to think was part and parcel with a career. But now looking back, it's like, well, maybe it was just the fact that I wasn't looking after myself and not able to deal with like the sort of pressures that come with that. So
it's a big if, though. I could say the same thing, but my personality, when you're probably the same, but I like to fucking party. Like I love to party. So I did a little stint where I said I'm not going to drink or do anything when I'm touring. I'm just going to get my head down. I'm going to go back to the hotel straight after the gig. I'm going to get to the hotel. I'm going to get to the gig 5 minutes before my set.
Yeah,
I did it for 6 months.
Did you?
No, that's why 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Yeah,
6 weeks.
It
was 6 weeks. And it was my Australian tour, right?
Yeah.
And I did the whole thing, and I got to the last gig in Queenstown, New Zealand, and I thought, "Fuck this! It's my last night." And bearing in mind, I had a 40-hour trip back to the Heathrow the day after. Get the tequila out. Where's the Patron? Get me a bottle of Patron. Where's my rider? Get my rider.
The worst one to do it on as well. I bet
the last one, leathered. Crazy gig, right? People, one more tunes, people climbing the walls. It was, when you're just buzzing, right?
Yeah.
The best part of the gig, by the way, the best part of that job is the DJ. I would do that for free.
Yeah,
I would happily do that for free. It's everything else that.
But just not at night. It'd have to be like a 4 till 5.
Oh yeah, because I need to be in bed, but like latest 9 o'clock now. 9 o'clock. My alarm's going off at 5, and I'm not fucking missing that. I'm not getting in at 5. I'm going to the after party at 5. I'm getting up at 5 to go to the fucking gym. Right. But I did 6 weeks, and it really made a big difference to how I felt. But at the same time, I didn't want to. Yeah. Every single gig I went to, I wanted to get on it every time, because that for me, that job was, I was getting paid to go out and have fun. I never looked at it like a professional business. Like, we call ourselves, like, I'm an ex-professional DJ.
Yeah, there was nothing professional about it.
There was not one professional thing about anything I did in that career.
That's so funny you say that, actually. Because I always say that. I always say ex-professional DJ. But it was fuck all professional. Not even my mixing was professional.
I couldn't even speak half the gigs, and you're calling yourself a professional. There's one gig that I went... So bad this. I'm not going to say the specific gig because I'm not going to go into detail, but I went to a foreign country in Europe, and I was out in the day with them having drinks, and I just went back to the hotel room to get changed, and then I woke up at 5:30 in the morning.
You missed it? Completely missed it. Wow. They didn't wake you up though?
No, they said they were banging on the door so loud, but the hotel staff couldn't let them in because of legal reasons. Shit. They said they were banging on the door for over an hour. Completely out. That's professional, right?
Did you get booked again?
I said I'd go and play back. I went back and played for free one night, like 3 months later. I played for free.
Okay.
I know the guys, like they're sweet, but like that's not professional.
Not professional. No.
You see professionals walking around the city, on Liverpool Street, and you see people with a tie on, even just a shirt. Yeah. Right, that's a professional.
Absolutely.
Or you see someone on the laptop on a train, that's professional.
Yeah.
Someone who just doesn't show up to work pissed, that's not professional at all.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, there's just in my head there's so many stories.
This is what I mean. We really need to, because this is the first episode. it's okay to get little spin-off stories like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But these are little teasers
Little
for you all.
teasers.
You know what I mean? Come back in the next episode to hear more. Let's move on. Why wellness matters? I mean, yeah. I mean, we wouldn't be here right now if we hadn't started to put our health and fitness first. And I think that's not just for the way that, you know, not just talking about putting your wellness first for the way you look and feel, but just everything else improves around you. Do you know what I mean? Like business,
Massively.
you know,
Yeah.
relationships, stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think, and I get this quite a lot when I speak to people, especially in consultations. It's like, I don't even like saying the word like health and fitness wellness because people automatically think, oh, the gym. Do you know what I mean? Or it's just so I can look good, so I can lose weight. It's like, it's so much more than that.
Not, yeah.
It's so much more than that.
But I was actually, on that note, from a young age, I won't mention here, but people that I grew up with told me that they didn't go to the gym because it was boring. And I've been doing a lot of subconscious reprogramming over the last few years and realizing that we create in our lives when we're younger, I don't know what the ages are, between 4 and 8, or might be 8 and 12, we create identities and stories. One of the stories I had about myself was that I was easily distracted. Do you know when you were younger, you used to get like your report card and it would say on there, on mine it said, Jacky is really intelligent, works hard, but is easily distracted. On every single fucking report card, right? So ever since I was that age, I lived that identity. That was my story. And those people in my life when I was younger who said that the gym was boring, the gym was boring. I just fucking thought the gym's boring. I'm never going to fucking bother. And when I did go to the gym, because in my head, I said the gym's boring.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It was boring. It's fucking boring.
Yeah.
So when I rewrote that story for myself in lockdown, because I had nothing else to fucking do, and I realized I was on a really bad path, once that story was rewritten, everything else changed. Like you said, everything changes. Me and Eleanor's relationship changed. Some of the friends that I thought were friends weren't really friends. And the friends who I didn't really speak to, or we maybe drifted apart, we come back together because we're more aligned. Everything falls into place when you get your health and wellness together.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been massive for my life. Huge.
Yeah. I think we'll definitely come back onto that one as well. That's going to be.
We can talk for hours, mate.
Yeah. So I think let's go into like life beyond nightlife, like the Afters podcast. I think it's sort of named
appropriately.
Yeah, for you know what's going to probably come out of this. A lot of stories from the Afters, and a lot of stories about like after nightlife. So sort of explanation of what life beyond the nightlife means. Yeah, it's quite. I mean, do
you want me to kick this off?
Yeah, go on, kick the start this one. Yeah, go on.
What's the point it's in here? So we got exploration of what life beyond nightlife means, and some experiences. Okay,
professional.
I mean, I don't know about you. I know you said you got your decks back out yesterday, which we will.
Rusty.
Rusty Spearing. Yeah, I've heard. I've completely lost interest for nightlife. Yeah. And it's not that some of my friends who, they invite me out all the time. They invite me, I've got this sashes at Fabric, or we're going to go to Fold for this, or do you want to go, we're going abroad, wherever. And I've just got there's nothing pulling me back into, even as a clubber. I went to Ibiza for a friend's wedding. Got to get some tissues next time, mate. I went to Ibiza for a friend's wedding. When was it? Last month? No, in July. And obviously, I used to work closely with Defected, and the Glitterbox was on, and other guys. I sent Eleanor a screenshot of just instantly. I was on Instagram, and I screenshotted the Glitterbox lineup, and Roger was playing, and a few others. And I sent it to Eleanor, and as soon as I sent it to her, I didn't know why I'd sent it, and I said, and she texted me back saying, I don't want to go to Glitterbox. And I just said, neither do I. And it's nothing to do with not going to go to Glitterbox. I just chose that as an example. I also almost have this reflex to do that because that's what I used to do. It's like habitual, right? Yeah. But I didn't want to do that. And that was just one example of many where I've realized that part of my life, almost like that chapter's closed, and I'm really in a good place now. And it's strange to talk about it like this because that was such a big part of my life. From the age of 19, to getting my first decks, which by the way I haven't even mentioned. I did used to DJ, and
yeah, you just
I've mentioned that bit.
cut that part out.
We'll have to edit this.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll have to do another one where we wear the same clothes.
Yeah.
Do me tash this game. I've lost my trail of thought now. What we're talking about?
Go on. You was on about Glitterbox, and you sent the
Yeah. So not having any interest in that. It's when I speak to friends who are still doing going out and clubbing and stuff. It feels weird to say I have no interest, and I even sometimes say that in a text. I am not interested in that at all, even though I know somewhere. And I've spoke to a few other people who are producers who said maybe one day you'll come back around and you'll want to open up the Ableton and you'll want to make a few tunes or whatever.
How many times you get that question though?
Well, do you still make music?
Yeah. When are you going to come back on the day?
I get it weekly on Instagram.
I bet you get it daily.
I'll post a picture. I post a picture of pasta the before, and someone said, "One more set from Jackie." I'm like, no, unfortunately not. But no, life beyond nightlife for me is completely different, and I feel like I've changed. Like something really deep down has changed. I don't know whether it's I'm just becoming more aligned with my true self, or whether because of certain emotions and feelings I've got about the way I used to live my life is still kind of lingering as a reminder that I wasn't living my life the right way, and it's still kind of very surface level. Maybe there's some hesitation to want to maybe dip my toe back in. I don't know which one it is. Either way, life's very different for me now. And maybe one day I will want to just jump back into a nightclub or get the decks out and have a spin in the kitchen or go upstairs and whack Ableton on and maybe make a few loops. I don't know, but right now, I'm just not there.
Well, hopefully the loop that you'll be hearing from for the podcast will be made from.
Did we talk about this when the camera was rolling?
No, I don't think we did. No,
we were talking about the jingle, and we were like, in my head, I was thinking, oh, who are we going to get to make the jingle? And then Sean said, well, maybe we should make the jingle.
Although I haven't got Ableton anymore, so
I've got a crack from 2016. But yeah, for me, life's very different, and like you said before, that domino effect is in full play for me now. Everything is improved. I've realised who I want to have in my life, who I don't want to have in my life, and not in a malicious way either.
No.
It's not like I've got my friends on a piece of paper and I've gone fuck off, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. You can stay. Like nothing like that. It's just sometimes like friends and relationships in your life are like me and my wife say they're like seasons, right? And you have friends for different seasons. You look back at college or uni or whatever, and it's not that you don't speak to those people anymore. The majority of them, it's not because of any malice. It's just because you're on different paths and you're not aligned, right? Yeah. So you do start to mix with people who are more aligned, and I feel like that's what's been important for me after nightlife. I'm really starting to find those relationships which want to flourish naturally, and those relationships which were toxic and no good for me. I don't know about you. How you feel about that?
I think that's a good point as well. Like especially when we're talking about health and wellness in general, is it's a trigger really. Making sure that you surround yourself with the right people, because when I was in Berlin, I was surrounded by people getting on it all the time, to no surprise. I mean, I'm not saying that was the reason why I was getting on it, because it definitely wasn't.
Oh, just blame everyone else.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't my fault, fuckers. But I think one thing that you sort of have to look at first of all, if you are going to change your whole lifestyle, is like, who are the people that you are hanging around with? For me, I think I still speak with a lot of people in the industry all the time, and
are they the people that you're speaking to in the industry, are they friends, like close friends, or just people who you just...
A lot of clients, to be honest. A lot,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
So I work with, quite a lot. I don't know, I can't give you the percentage of what Willer's Fitness is in the music industry, but, there's still quite a lot. And I have a couple of, friends that I speak to on a regular basis that are still, in the industry as well.
That's amazing, that, though, because those... Not trying to blow smoke up your ass or anything, but those people, when we were DJing, I don't know about you, but I didn't see anyone on my social media who was a DJ who is then now a PT who's trying to help people. You're that guy.
I think so.
Massively.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone else on my social media who's made that transition and doing it successfully and helping a lot of people in that industry.
Yeah.
It's class, mate.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know if there is at the moment. I mean, but still, I speak with a lot of people, and I don't know. I sort of still like the idea of music sometimes, but first of all, it's very time consuming. Sitting down to Ableton to start producing music, I haven't really got the time.
Did you like making music?
Not really. I like doing cocaine.
Yeah.
That was it. And that's what I used to say to myself. But it'd be like, I'm going to the studio, which basically meant ring the dealer in. I'll see you in 3 days. And then I'd be in the studio after. I'd be like, fucking hell, that was... What have I even done?
I've made 2 loops.
Yeah.
And they're both shit.
Yeah. Yeah, basically. So, no, I don't. Sometimes I did. Sometimes it was all right, but I'm not. I come from no musical background at all in that regard. So, like, even keys, I had no fucking idea.
No, neither did I.
Yeah, a lot of the time I was just pressing buttons and hoping for the best. I remember once I got the Electron. Yeah, thinking I'll invest a bit of money finally into my career, and I got it and. I know it was just too complicated, man. And obviously, I couldn't be asked to learn because I was off my head every time I was in the studio.
Yeah.
So it was just sat in the studio. But every time I got a picture on Instagram, I made sure I got that bit of equipment in there and turn it on.
Turn it on so it's flashing. Yeah,
dust it off. Yeah. I was like, fucking hell, everyone's gonna think I'm well cool.
Mate, I've got the same story It's in lockdown. So it got to lockdown and I started making money. How I was making money was doing the lessons online, right?
Yeah.
So I was saving all that and pulling it together and said, right, when I move out the mother-in-laws, I'm going to get a space and I'm going to make a studio. And I fucking did, right? And I spent about $4,000 on this Art Novian design. Have you heard of Art Novian?
I've not, no.
Do you know Mark Bradbury?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I was going to say yes, then.
He's got an amazing... What? No reason.
No.
No, this is... Okay. Well, anyway, he has the most amazing Art Novian designed studio in Manchester. I thought you might have heard of it. But anyway, they're designed in Portugal for the room. So you send them to specifications of the room, specifications, dimensions, and then they send you a design back. It was fucking awesome. I was like, all right, sweet, let's do it. Got the panels, got them all installed, hired this little space, 200 quid a month. It was like amazing. Bought all this equipment, like very similar to your story when you bought that bit of kit. Got all this stuff and then sat down in it and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I don't like making fucking music. I actually never like making music. I'd made music so I could get gigs, go out and get fucked. That's basically what I did, right? So I sat in the studio in lockdown, like I think it was maybe November 2021, and I sat down, I was finished, and I was like, oh my God, this took me 4 months to make this. All this gear.
You have pictures of it?
I've got pictures, yeah.
We'll have to throw them up.
We'll throw them up on the green screen there.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And then I sat down, I was like, turn everything on, do a nice little video.
Of course,
all the demo lights.
And then fuck off back upstairs.
Is it TR8?
TR8.
TR8.
I like that bit of it. That was a good one.
Because you could just sit on it off your head and just fucking push buttons and make cool loops. Yeah. And then is it the TB3, the little...
they like the acidy one.
The acidy
that
one.
Was quite cool as well.
Cool. And you didn't really need to spend much time learning
No,
it.
that's what I liked as well.
But yeah, very similar story. I didn't really get to learn them loads. I like to play with them. Yeah. Never recorded anything. Didn't
learn them.
Didn't learn them. It is one of those things I really feel you need to be super passionate about it.
Yeah.
And if you're like, again, I just made music to get gigs.
Yeah.
So it's where the money comes from, right?
Yeah, it is. Exactly.
It doesn't come from the record sales. We're not in the 70s. It's all from performance.
Yeah.
And if you're not getting chart positions, you're not getting.
So is it no music? Was there any tunes that you?
I knew that question was coming, and I'm just going to have to answer like.
Not any that you were happy with, like not one.
Oh no,
you're proud of.
I'm proud of a lot of them. A few that did really well. that breakbeaty track I did with Max Chapman was really cool. Addicted, that was awesome.
Oh, that's your number one, that is, on Spotify.
Yeah. And then Mummer that I did with Holmes John, a guy in Australia, in Melbourne, that smashed it. But actually so this is the thing. I like them when they finished. I like the tune when you go export and you do the video on your Instagram. Just finish the tune.
Yeah,
can't wait. Like all this, can't wait.
Yeah.
Got some good news.
Yeah, coming soon.
Info coming soon. Hashtag watch this space. That bit's cool, but all the in between bit, the hard bit, essentially.
What did you use Ableton as well?
Ableton, yeah.
I just that loop, that 32 bar part, that was fun.
Oh, it's always fun. How many hundreds of loops have you got?
Millions.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've got a hard drive that's just full.
I think what we should do is we should use a mixture of one of my loops and one of your loops, and we'll make the jingle.
That would be good.
12. I'm sure we can get a 12-second
I should
jingle
hope
out.
so.
I know I don't like making music, but I think I could probably get
this
together.
This would be it now. Next year, that would be the Willers and Jackie mixing podcast or some shit. We'll have decks out next time.
I have me TR8 there, your TB3, your little e-tron.
So, okay, went well off track there.
Yeah.
But life beyond the nightlife, I think. Coming back to just, for me, I still listen to quite a lot of, I still like a lot of the music, like a lot of the Romanian stuff I still listen to, and Shimza, actually, the sort of African stuff I'm getting quite into. I don't know if you've heard of Shimza. He's pretty cool. But actually, mixing, I had a go. I've got the deck set up. My missus, they're her decks anyway.
I had a go.
It was Liam was on him last night as well. Actually, he had a go.
I did see his Instagram.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be a combat, because the problem is that, first of all, who the fuck can stay up that late? It's just not going to happen, is it?
No.
And
not these days.
and it's the time as well. I think that's what our energies are elsewhere. So sort of life beyond the nightlife now is great,
wholesome.
Yeah, very wholesome. Yeah, but that's not to say I still keep an eye on the scene and stuff. Do you know one thing actually that I quite like about the music industry now is looking at it from like a non-biased point of view, because before I'd get so bitter, because my ego, I'd always get so bitter. I'd be like, how the fuck has he got that release and why aren't I getting this? Or
all the time.
All
the time with people that I know.
Same.
People that you know, that you like.
And
you're also, deep down, you're happy that they're doing well.
Oh, I wasn't.
Oh no, but deep down you probably were. No.
Maybe. Not my ego, but
but the ego, like, that was probably a lot fueled by the drugs and the drink.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like when you're not feeling well, maybe you're hungover on the Monday or the Tuesday, and you start seeing someone else playing a festival with 5,000 people, and you're like, fuck that guy.
yeah.
Fuck that. There's nothing good comes out of that jealousy.
No, not
nothing.
at all. No.
It's just so negatively charged. Looking back now, obviously hindsight's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But why did we feel that way?
But that's it. But the thing is, now when I look now at them same people who are absolutely smashing it, I actually like it now. I'm like, yeah, fucking nice. I love seeing a journey. So yeah,
it's that's something to do with the fact that there's no competition anymore.
No, exactly.
So but then essentially, then we don't actually know if we would have felt any differently now, because their competition. Even though there's enough gigs to go around. I know I hear like Rogan talking about this on his podcast about the comedians and like comedians getting really jealous, and he used to do it as well. Like fuck you, but there's enough food for everyone to eat, right? There's enough gigs to go around. But so it's such a weird.
I think it's just in the creative industry on a whole, isn't it?
You think?
It must be, yeah.
Or we're just twats.
Yeah, but it's just I think
little bit of that.
Ego is definitely a big thing, isn't
100%.
it? Especially with and that's. Again, that's one thing that now that is speaking to DJs. The one thing that I'd probably say that reminds me of why I don't want to be involved in that industry anymore is just the ego side of it, because the egos are just like
even down to the point where my agent would text me and goes, or my agent, my manager, or whoever at the time would go, Jackie, you've got this gig next Saturday, but we're not putting you on yet because your name isn't far enough up the lineup. So you've got a post there, and they're not signing off on the gig, which is, by the way, how I make fucking money and pay my rent. They're going, we're not happy with the billing.
Yeah.
Your name is not high enough, and we want you to be above that person.
Or A to Z. They have to put A to Z.
Yeah,
A to Z at the top.
How fucked is that for your ego?
Yeah,
It just feeds your ego, because
Yeah,
it's like, if it's not A to Z and you're not at the top, you're like, fuck that guy. Even from looking at a poster.
A to Z was, for me, that was the
Perfect.
worst, man.
Yeah,
I was at the bottom. So I was at the bottom either way.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think, where were we? Just...
Where we still talking about life after.
Yeah, life after the party.
I think we've touched on that.
We've got, okay.
Yeah.
So let's just go. I just want to talk briefly about like the foundations of wellness. Like, you know, when you started your journey into a healthier lifestyle, like what were your foundations? Like, what were your starting points for that?
My foundations into the pivot into wellness. Well, it was, to be honest, with me, it got to a point where I looked in the mirror. I remember looking in the mirror one day, and I was on a pretty nasty hangover. And I remember looking at myself just in my mirror and looking at my body and looking at my face, and I was all blotchy, and I used to get quite swollen. It's funny, we look back at, your phone throws back highlights. Yeah, you'll know, because you've had a bit of a transformation. You look back at pictures, and I used to see I used to have these big chubby cheeks, right? And all my face was swollen and red, and it was purely because I'd been drinking alcohol all the time. I remember looking in the mirror at Eleanor's mum's. It was like 2 months into lockdown, and just going, fuck that. Like, I need to do something. But again, it was forced upon me. I don't think I would have made any changes to my lifestyle if it wasn't for COVID.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know.
Same. I think so.
I feel like that was a pivotal point for me. So the foundation for me was facing adversity. I was forced into I've said this about 9 times. You probably got to forced into a corner count on this podcast, but I was literally, I had no choice. And looking at myself in the mirror and realizing that I can do something about this, and starting small. I think every time I'd failed before that, and I had tried. I know I've gone on here like I'd never bothered with my fitness. I tried before, but it's a bit like with how we spoke in November about the running.
Yeah.
And I said to you, you said to me, sorry, we need to get you running. And I said, I don't want to run.
Yeah.
And you said to me, and I said this to a few people, I've actually second-handed this to loads of friends now.
I need to copyright this then.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Right, so here we go. You said to me, you've been running wrong.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you fucking mean running wrong? You just run. It's not basketball. You're not playing cricket. Like, you just run. And then you went, no, you don't. And then you put me onto the NRC app, and you told me that I'd been running too quick, trying to do too much too soon. And that was exactly right, mate. And that relates to everything in fitness. If you go to the gym after never being to the gym and try and go and flat bench 34 kilo dumbbells, you're not going to be able to do it. Or if you even if you do lift a weight that you can lift and go too heavy, you're going to hurt yourself, and you're going to go, I'm not going back. So the foundations for me were really starting small, but for me, again, with all these things, whether it was the career or the fitness, I got to like a really low point. It was like, I wouldn't say a rock bottom, but it was a rock bottom for me. Elsewhere.
Yeah.
And I needed to do something, and that was it.
Yeah. I think that's what COVID did. Obviously, it was a horrendous situation for so many people, but at the same time, like, it was very similar. Like, it made me actually take a look at like where my life was at the moment, like where my health and fitness was. Like, really, even though I knew it was in a bad way, I hadn't really been offered a situation where, I actually had to sit and think about it.
Yeah. It's the silence, because when our lifestyle, people who don't know this, in Monday to Thursday, you're probably rough from the weekend before, but you try to make some tunes, doesn't really happen. For Thursday, you're sorting tunes out on your laptop, right? Friday, you're probably flying off or going to a gig somewhere. You're going into a different country or going to another city. which you're traveling and then you hungover on the Saturday, go to another gig, hungover again Sunday, and you repeat it every week. So you haven't got time to think. Because when you have got time to think, you're hungover, so you're focused on the hangover. You're completely distracted. It's survival. It's you're constantly distracted by your own body trying to heal itself, trying to get the toxins out. And a hangover is essentially your body, what's it called? Withdrawal from alcohol, right? That's what a hangover is. So you're constantly in this perpetual state of feeling like shit and guilt and all that crap. So when we're forced in a corner, in lockdown, that's it's priceless, man.
Because I think that's one thing that I tried a lot of times before. Like I'd gone to like AA meetings and stuff in Berlin. I think I've been in London as well when I lived there. Like I really
12-step stuff.
Yeah, I tried. I went to NA, went to AA, and I kept telling. I think it was more just telling everyone else, I want to quit. And I'd always do it after something bad had happened, and I'll be like, I want to quit again. But
you feel guilty.
So I'll be like, I'd tell everyone, I'm going to AA. But really. I mean, AA this complete side stuff. AA in Berlin just made me want to do more gear, man. Because all the stories were fucking mental.
Well, good.
I was like, sat there, I was like, fucking hell, I can't wait to get a packet in. So I don't think I ever really, wanted to give up. And I think even with COVID at the start, maybe I didn't really want to give up, But I did apply some foundations that what it allowed me to do is have like a platform to then get back on when I fell off, because that's something that I didn't have before. I fall off, I think, fuck it, I'll just get back on it. I just crack on again, and and it'll be all right. But with COVID, obviously the parties weren't as frequent anyway. So what I did is applied these foundations, so when I fell off, I could get back on that, and inevitably, like, the foundation, it kept building on that. So me falling off would get less and less, and as it got less and less, I started to feel much better in between. And I think that's when I realized, okay, how much of a shit state I was in before, and how much better I started to feel, and that obviously that sort of excelled into where it is now. But then foundations for me was intermittent fasting. That was a game changer for me, because I always remember Marcio in Berlin, older guy. I don't know how old he is. I don't want to say. I mean, he probably won't ever listen to this anyway.
That's right.
32. No, he was. I think he was in his 40s. Good-looking bloke, anyway. Fantastic shape, and like when I first started to train, like he would train me. He had a sick apartment in Berlin. It was like had a gym in there and everything. So like in his apartment as well, not in like the basement, like in his apartment. So he used to go there. And then I'd always ask him, I'd be like, how did you get in this good shape? And he'd talk about intermittent fasting. I'd never really heard of it before. And he's like, look, try this app, Fastic, which I should be an ambassador for them, because I've said...
Yeah, you've got me on that as well.
Fuck everyone. Yeah. I don't even get a free service. I actually emailed Fastic once as well.
Sponsors.
Yeah, they won't be... They didn't even reply to my email.
Do you even have to pay for... Oh, you do have to pay for...
Yeah, you do now, yeah. But you just have to cancel the...
Don't let them off the secret.
Anyway, so he started talking about fasting, and that's what I tried fasting.
Was he intermittent fasting or like longer fasts?
Nah, yeah, intermittent fasting. He was doing 16/8.
Right, okay.
I think he was doing a little longer sometimes, but then that's what I started. Me and Liam started together actually in lockdown. I started doing it, and then I was like, Liam, you've got to start doing this as well. And what it created was discipline, and that's one thing that I realised that I didn't have at all. Like I went from like military, super disciplined. Even when I come out, I carried that over. And then when I was in the music industry, that's what I lost: structure, discipline. And that's one thing that intermittent fasting gave me back. And it sort of just, give me the discipline to create a routine again, and also the discipline to be able to say no, because at the end of the day, like, I was the one making the decisions that was inevitably fucking up my life. 100%. So I think the foundation for wellness for me was just building that discipline back up again. I think that's really important for anyone who's starting out the journey, to realize that whether you want to lose weight, gain weight, stop partying, it comes down to discipline, because inevitably you're the ones making the decision, and you can make excuses all day long, but it is you, and it is you versus you, and discipline is the base of the foundation. So
the one thing you said about the discipline there, which resonated with me, and something that I actually started doing, I think probably about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, is my default answer to everything is no.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And I can't remember where I got this from. I'm stealing it from someone, some podcast I listen to. But every time I get asked to do something, I say no.
Yeah.
And then I've got to answer yes. There's 3 questions. I've got to give myself 3 answers, 3 yeses as to why I should change that from a no to a yes. So if someone asks me, do you want to go for dinner on Thursday night? No.
Yeah.
Right? And then and I know this might sound extreme, but dinner, let's say I'm not drinking this year, but dinner last year would have been drink 2,
Yeah.
then end up in a bar, and then
Yeah.
end up in an after party, right? And taking myself out of that situation and being disciplined, because I know I've got to be up at 5 in the morning to go to the gym, right? So that's discipline, right? So by saying no to everything, and so if, for example, if it was a leave and do for someone and they were leaving country, obviously there's a good reason then to change that no to a yes.
Yeah.
But if it's just like some of my mates go out twice a week to bars,
just for fuck all.
yeah, and that's going to have a knock-on effect for me and my fitness. And that's paramount for me, that I'm up in the morning at 5, meditate, all the stuff, the routine, which we'll probably talk about a lot.
Absolutely.
But that discipline was huge for me as well.
Yeah,
and that I never had any discipline, because when we were touring, we'd get up whenever we want, whenever we woke up.
Do you know what time did you? Actually, it's so funny because me and Liam were talking about this. I honestly, I couldn't even tell you what sort of time. I don't even remember what time I used to get up when I was a DJ.
It's because you didn't have a time.
Nah,
you did. There was no discipline there. I used to tell my wife that I wasn't a morning person, and it was complete bullshit. You know what I was talking about before about stories? And the identities we create for ourselves. That was my identity. My identity was that I wasn't a morning person. But it wasn't. The identity was the fact that I've been drinking for fucking 4 days that week, and I was rough as arseholes, and I couldn't be asked to get out of bed. That was the truth. But we tell ourselves these lies to make ourselves feel better, because we're already feeling guilty about all the shit we've done. But yeah, mate, back to the discipline. It's huge, and it really is. Again, it's got that knock-on effect with everything that we do. Discipline with our health, our fitness, our relationships, to ourselves. That's the most important thing. You tell yourself you're going to do something and you don't do it. Discipline's like a muscle, and when you kind of weaken that muscle by lying to yourself, that's the worst.
That's a good one. I like that.
It's the worst one.
Like a muscle.
It's a muscle, and the more that, even little things like you say, I'm not going. Like I use MyFitnessPal all the time. It's every day. It's like a religion for me, right? I use it religiously.
Even on cheat days.
Cheat days, well, yes, of course, because on cheat days I'll make sure that I've not ate anything in the morning, so I can fucking go wild at night. I have like a coffee and a grape, and then I can have your fucking Pizza Hut. But it is really like a muscle, and the more times you hold your promise to yourself, that discipline strengthens in everything. So when you've got a big yes or no to answer, someone says you want to go out on Friday, but you know you shouldn't. Old me would have been like, oh, fuck it, YOLO, all that shit, right? But now I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It's just a muscle.
I like that. That's a good point. What I was thinking before as well is that I knew, like, when you think back to like how bad my routine was, is that...
What routine?
Yeah, exactly. Someone was in Berlin, I know, quite recently, and they asked me, what places to eat would you recommend? And I couldn't think of one. And then
places to what?
Eat in Berlin. Bearing in mind, I lived there for 4 years, and and I couldn't tell them one. And then I was thinking,
you wouldn't
what
eat that
the
much.
fuck was it? What did he even have? And then I was trying to think about what did I have for breakfast when I was a DJ. Like, honestly, I can't even remember. Like, what did I have?
It wasn't our priority.
No,
our priorities lied in the partying, and the gigs and all that stuff. But that's what we remember. Probably don't even remember. Don't remember half of that. But it wasn't a priority of ours. No. So why would we remember that?
Yeah.
Now it's essential. I know exactly. I mean,
what did you have for breakfast
today?
Yeah,
mate, I'll tell you everything.
I had. What did I had some overnight oats this morning and 4 eggs.
Overnight oats with 4 eggs.
4 eggs. Yeah, I cooked them up on
together.
Side.
You have the oats with the eggs.
Not on the side.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that would be well weird.
Rough. No, on the side.
Rough. Me and my wife make these protein bagels with a frittata with spring onions and sun-dried tomatoes. We make the frittata in like a tray, cut it into 4, put it in 4 bagels, slice of cheese, It's like a 330.
How do you make the frittata?
Mate, I'll send you the links. I've got some fucking awesome links.
That's
on
like the big omelette.
Yeah, so it's about that thick.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
make
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You put it in the oven for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
put it
yeah,
in a fork. Put a slab in with some cheese. Then,
Se-
then you put them in the fridge.
Send me that.
And then I will. In the morning, whack them in the oven for 20 minutes. 3 hex sausages.
Yeah,
A few slices of cucumber.
Yes, I
A
did
raw-
actually. I see this on you.
Yeah, you've seen
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's religion. And then we don't drink normal milk now. We drink raw goat's milk. It's a fucking tits, mate.
Is it good? Because
Not on its own in coffee. We don't drink the milk on
have
its
you
own.
had raw? Because I've not had raw milk yet, but I see a lot of people banging on it because it's
That's all I drink.
raw milk.
Only in coffee. I don't drink milk.
Have you? No, never.
But we have raw goat's milk.
What? Have you tried a glass of it though?
No. I think it'd be pretty goaty. Have you had goat's cheese?
I don't like it. That's feta, isn't it? Is it, or is that sheep?
You think you can get feta in? You can get
I'm not a
feta
big
as cows.
I'm not a big fan of.
Anyway, so that's what I have for breakfast.
Okay, all right. Okay, cool.
And then, actually, I said I wasn't going to have lunch because I thought this fucking podcast was at 1:45. And I remember we were talking about Chris Bartlett saying that he had the fasting doctor on.
Yeah.
She said, don't eat like 7 hours before a podcast because you'll be sluggish. And I got here and I was like, then you said, oh, well, the podcast isn't for
quarter to 4.
fucking 3:45. I'm fucking starving. I'm going to fade away. So yeah, I had some jerk chicken for lunch.
Yeah, it looked good as well, mate.
Banging,
It did look
mate.
good.
Really
Looked very good.
I don't think I've been too sluggish today. What do you reckon?
Nah, you've been
Pretty on
full of
point.
beans, mate. Yeah. So, do you know what? That's perfect that we've led on to that. It's like we've almost written this down. Practical tips for a balanced life, and I think that's.
You've done a few Instagram posts about this. I'll let you lead.
Yeah. I think. Do you know? I say 80. It's 20 split, but sometimes I do. With nutrition, sometimes 70-30 depends.
What are you talking about, these splits?
70, so 70-80% of your nutrition comes from whole foods, single products, ingredients, and then 20%, 30% comes from whatever you want. Obviously, it depends on how much weight you've got to lose, I suppose, and how
or gain,
or just how many health issues you might have as well, I suppose. Again, I'm not a doctor, so
you're not.
I'm not. No, so this is not.
News to me.
Yeah, this is not any medical advice, but for me, I like to have 70 to 80% whole foods.
You actually got me onto this Whole Foods. Remember we did our training in November, December, January, and it made me realise how much of my diet wasn't Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, yeah. And I listened to a podcast quite recently actually, and they made a very good point about like what is the best diet. Vegan would say it's a vegan. Paleo would say it's paleo. The carnivore would say it's a carnivore. But what they all have in common and why people feel great when they go on these diets is because what they actually do is just eliminate processed food.
Yeah.
And that really is the ultimate goal. Like, if you want balance in your nutrition, not to worry about anything other than just eliminating processed food as much as possible, because straight away you're going to start to feel a lot better. I mean, again, just talking from my experience and people that I've worked with, but definitely start to feel better. Have more energy, less, gut health issues, and more than likely going to start losing weight as well because, definitely body fat, because whole foods have a lot less calories in them. Your body knows how to deal with them a lot better.
And also just content-wise, right? Like if you eat a processed bar, which I'm guilty of, I'm not going to say I don't.
We all are,
protein bar, 250 calories, whatever, 200 calories. Try eating that same, like how many calories is in the same size of a carrot, let's say, right? Yeah. You can't eat that much. If you're trying to be not exclusive, but more whole foods, there's no way you can get that quantity of food in your body. So
no.
that alone for me, that helped me, because I remember this vividly. I remember where I was when you'd said, make sure you do fasting tomorrow, and I want to see more whole foods in your diet.
Yeah.
I remember going to my fitness pal and like reflex going to what I normally get from like the shop or whatever for breakfast or whatever I get for lunch and being like, no, that's not whole foods. It's about fucking. I remember you saying if it's got more than one thing in it,
ingredient,
fuck it off. Yeah. Or try your best to fuck it off.
Exactly.
And it was really good advice.
And that's what it is on balance at the end of the day. Unless you're a professional bodybuilder and you've got a competition, then 20% of the time just eating whatever you want is like, for me, Friday night is a big night for me to eat, normally a pizza, top up pizza.
Yeah.
the name of my place. That's the one. And the reason why is because, first of all, that was a lot of the time when I used to go out and get fucked up. So just like sort of filling that void, which, again, it's that 20%, but because of the balance that I've got, I don't need to worry about it because, the rest of it is sort of on point. So, where does he say here? So, tips for maintaining wellness. Mine definitely there is live 80-20. So 80%, especially when we're talking about nutrition, making sure that everything is on point with whole foods, getting in your daily movement, and then 20% of the time just enjoying yourself, with maybe foods that you wouldn't enjoy, or just sitting down and not doing any movement, watching a film, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And that would be my practical tips for a balanced life. And the good thing is about like that on a whole, so focusing on whole foods, daily movement, intermittent fasting is something you can do no matter where you are in the world. Like, as a touring DJ, let's say, something that I could have applied, in my career very easily because, essentially food-wise, you're just making sure that it's single product ingredients that you're eating.
Yeah.
Fasting, you don't add or take anything away. And movement, you can do anywhere, especially if you take up something like running.
I was just going to mention that actually.
Yeah.
You can just run anywhere, can't you?
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing. And now when I look back as well, I think all the mint places I could have run.
Oh, yeah. I was in New York in January, and I ended up running down like through Manhattan. And
I bet that was amazing.
It was amazing, but I've gigged in New York before, and I played at the Mixed Mag Lab, and it was like I played Elrow there in 2019, and I was like, I've been to some sick places,
yeah.
and I've spent 90% of it either in an after party or in a hotel room.
Yeah,
or in the actual gig itself.
Yeah.
For me, the tips would be routine and habits. I think we mentioned that on there. I don't think we touched on it earlier, but for me, one of the huge things that's helped me stay consistent is making things habitual.
Mm-hmm.
I have a journal. It's called the Phoenix Journal. It's kind of got a weekly planner and it's got a daily planner in there.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of every week, I plan for the week coming, and there's a section at the bottom, and you can put in 7 habits or whatever you want to call them every day that I do. So I've got my affirmations, my meditation, my exercise, I've got my calorie count, so I know how many calories I got to eat that day, or no more than that calorie count each day. I've got my plunge pool or a cold shower, whatever it is, or whatever I can get to, and then my trading stuff, and there's a few other things on there, but I have to tick them off, and there's nothing worse than the day you go to bed when you're going to be doing the planner for the next day. You've got to put a cross in that box. And for me, I can't remember who there's an American comedian who spoke about this, who had a calendar, and every day, because he was trying to be a full-time comedian, and this is the way he did it. What's his name? He starts with an S, had a really big what's it called? It'll come to me. Anyway, it doesn't matter the name, but essentially he had a calendar up on the wall, the big one with the numbers on, and every single day he had to write for half an hour. Right? It didn't matter if it was shit or it was good or whatever. Every day he wrote, he put a cross in. And when you get so far down, you don't want to stop that chain. You don't want to see a gap. So when I'm doing my journal, I've got to see a tick in that box. And so these habits that I've kind of accrued over the last 18 months to 2 years have been pivotal in my development. If I hadn't created these habits, those habits don't create consistency, and consistency, if you haven't got consistency, you haven't got fucking anything.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say creating habits, and also just as important, if not more important, is getting rid of old habits. Like habits, it could be anything. It could be just having a couple of pints or going to the pub on a Thursday and having 2 pints when you know that's going to lead to something else. Or eating the thing you know you shouldn't eat. Right? All those habits, they all add up to one big fucking nasty habit. So if you can drop the shit ones that don't serve you and add some really beneficial habits, it's a game changer.
And what's that journal called?
It's called the Phoenix Journal. You can get it on Amazon. You can either get a 12-week one or a 24-week one. It's a really, really good book. you put a 12-week goal in, and you kind of, there's pages where you can write what you want your life to look like in a year. There's also a really important page which is labeled what you don't want your life to look like in a year.
Oh, that's quite cool.
So you put down, if you keep doing what you're doing now, or even you might be doing all the right things, but let's say you start this and you've got loads of bad habits. If you continue to do those bad habits and don't change your ways, this is what your life will look like in a year, and you've got to put it down on paper.
And actually write it physically.
Physically write it down.
Yeah,
you
like
can
that.
see, if I continue on this path, this is what my life's going to be.
Yeah.
You don't want your life to be like that. So then it comes on to the next page, and you put your 12-week goals in, and then you break it down to a month. So what you're going to do this next 4 weeks, which is going to get you to the 12-week goal. And just like I said before about breaking it down into, like, the foundations for me were breaking it down into small bits and starting small. You can see the journal starts from a 12-month goal and what you don't want to look like. Then 12 weeks, then 4 weeks, and then a week, and then you do every page each day.
Oh, that's quite
And
cool.
you've got to break it down into small bite-sized chunks, because similar to the running advice you give me, when you're looking at like starting running and you've got a 5K to do and you've never run before, it's too much.
Yeah.
You need to do the 20 minutes or whatever it was that you.
Yeah, the 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
20 minutes start. Yeah.
And it's really important. So yeah, back to what I was saying before. Habits are everything.
Yeah, I like that. I'm going to check that.
The Phoenix Journal.
Yeah,
it's quite
cool.
expensive. I think it's about 59 quid, but like it's priceless when you think about how much it keeps you in track.
Well, because I put like, I have like a Google Calendar that I use, but I still really like writing stuff down. I think when I write it down, it's
there's something changes when you put pen to paper.
Yeah.
When you physically do that, I wouldn't say I read back through my entries.
No, it's just writing it down on the day. It's like ticking off that box. Isn't it?
Tick the box off, write down your feelings. Also, if you're going to bed, you write down some maybe shit that didn't go well or some shit that did go well. You need to remember to give yourself praise when you do something well, but also it helps you get those emotions off your chest before you're going to go and rest. Your body's going to recover for the next day. Write it down, close the book, go to bed. You start over again next day.
Quite like that. I might check
That's
that
the one
out.
there.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out.
Really, really helpful.
Okay, cool. So that's sort of tying up towards the end there. I think we just talk about some future plans.
Should we just recap kind of what?
Yeah,
what
go on. Let's go on.
Yeah.
Leave it. Let's recap.
Yeah, I think we just need to recap, not what we've talked about. We're here another 2 hours.
Here we go again.
But just come full circle to the reason we're doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You and me, we reconnected through our health and wellness and fitness last year. And through a few conversations and me working with you closely, we really think that our experience and our journey can really benefit other people.
Absolutely.
We know people in the industry, out the industry, and we know there's hundreds and thousands of people out there who, not going to get thousands of people in this first podcast, but we never know. But we know there's people out there who are stuck in a situation where even if they're in a successful career, they might not be happy. There might be some people who are trying to get in the music industry, and maybe you're going to do it the right way. We can help. We can help with that as well. We've got stories to help those people. And if people are stuck in a rut with their health and their wellness or their mental health or whatever it is, we've got so many stories which can resonate.
Absolutely.
And I feel, and I'm going to speak about stuff on this open, and I said this before, I'm going to speak about stuff on this podcast, which I've never said publicly, which some of the people who are closest to me have never heard. And I think it needs to be said.
Absolutely,
I think it needs, and we need to be as honest as possible.
Yeah.
If we're going to do this, what the fuck's the point if we're not going to be completely heart and sleeve?
There's going to be some juicy stories coming out.
There is.
There
is. Some are going to be nice, some are going to be nasty, but what we can promise is it's going to be honest shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, just wanted to recap on that, let people know what the fuck we're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. I think. I mean, obviously, I completely agree. That's why I'm sat here right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I think there's going to be a lot to be learned.
I mean, I think we're going to probably learn
I was
quite
just
a lot
about to say that myself as well.
Sorry, did I steal that line?
No, it's all right. I'll copyright that one. No, I completely agree that myself. You know, it's going to be good to be able to get some maybe additional parts that I've not even thought about before, you know, and talked about. So, future plans, the future plans of the podcast.
Yep.
We are going to be, I think talking more about individual topics. So definitely some stories from, our DJ careers, topics, horror stories, ups and downs of the career.
Lots of them.
The parties, and also just, how it was touring, stuff like that. And then talking about health,
how we got
where we are now, how you can improve your health from, things that have worked for us. And then also bringing on some guests.
Yes, the exciting bit.
Yes. So plenty of guests in the pipeline.
Exciting ones lined up already.
Yeah, so going to be talking about, obviously, their experiences.
The hot seat.
Yeah, yeah. In and out of the industry, and sort of how they deal with it and their advice to other people. So anyone has any questions, they can drop us a DM at any time.
In the message.
Yeah, in the message.
This we
part
haven't
here,
said.
yeah.
Will, eventually.
So subscribe, leave a review, join the community, be prepared for plenty more to come soon. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in. Thanks to Jacky.
Thanks to Sean.
Yeah, for being a part of it as well.
No, this is really special for me. I've listened to podcasts for years, and I actually never thought that I'd be on one myself. I always had the thought of maybe doing one on my own, but sitting talking to yourself, looking at the wall. Yeah. Also, what do you talk about? I think it's also going to be interesting because for people again who don't know us, we aren't really close friends. We haven't come through the industry together and flourished and been through our journeys. So
it's a completely different journey.
Journey. So we're going to learn a lot about each other as well. It's going to be class. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Thank you everyone for listening, and make sure you tune in next time.
Yeah. Peace.
Nice one.
Does anybody know where the afters is?